What's up guys? Dawson Weidrich, nerdy in many ways, and I got a little gift this weekend. It was a late wedding present from some good friends of mine. It's a Batman piggy bank. Hopefully you can see that. I think I'm going to name it Batso, because the term fatso and so is a type of pig. So I think it's only fitting. So that's fun, and it's been a phenomenal weekend. It's been such an awesome weekend. I mean, of course, I'm wearing a Boise State shirt because college football finally started this weekend. And I'm going to make a video here in a little bit about my reaction to the first week of college football. But this video is going to be about another part of my weekend that was actually really awesome, that I just really enjoyed. And it was finally getting to watch the Netflix original series, The Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance. Now, I'm going to be talking a little bit about plot points of both this Netflix original series as well as the original movie, The Dark Crystal. But I'm not going to really go in depth. I'm just going to talk about my reactions and my opinion of the show, as well as the effort of creation of these characters in the show. So if you don't know, Jim Henson created The Dark Crystal, who's also the man behind all your favorite puppets growing up, such as the Muppets, Kermit the Frog, just an absolute master of imagination as well as just quality entertainment. And so one of his many brain babies was The Dark Crystal. And if you're like me, you grew up watching this a little bit. It was a little bit creepy just because it was a little bit of a darker, fantastical, mystical adventure. And so when they announced that this Netflix original series was going to be happening, I was really excited. But I was also a little bit worried because, again, if you haven't seen it, the main thing that made the first movie work was that there's no humans in the movie whatsoever. It's all puppeteering, it's all costumes, it's all practical effects, and it was absolutely hypnotizing, really, of how beautiful this stuff was. And so at first they were thinking of making it so that the Gelfling, which is the main characters of the show, and the movie, would be CGI and the villains would be puppets. And so that part really scared me a little bit, but then they changed it to where everything basically was puppeteering, which is awesome. And so my reaction to the show is, holy crap, this thing is phenomenal. This thing is capturing. This thing takes you away to another world, and it really just opens up your imagination again. You feel like a little kid again, and you're watching this show, this mystical planet, this mystical world of these creatures that have such life, but in the back of your mind that these things are just little plastic or rubber creations from people, but they're so brought to life, and the emotions that these puppets show is just mind-boggling. Like, there's a part in the first episode where one of the character's friends dies and you see him crying and reacting in the background, and it just wrenches your heart because it looks so real. The emotion is so convincing that you forget that it's a puppet. And if you watch the How the Dark Crystal: Age of Resistance was made documentary, which you can watch after you watch the show, oh my gosh, it's beautiful. Honestly, it almost brought me to tears how awesome it was for these artists to create these creatures, to create these characters, and to see them come to life by use of puppeteering. And me, as an artist myself, that's something that I've always kind of wanted, is something that I created to come to life and tell this story and just take you away. And these guys are really successful for it, and I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And one thing, speaking of documentary, that really impressed me is in the show, there's one of the main characters' name is Lore. Now, Lore is a rock-like creature who's basically a protector of one of the main characters named Bria, who is a princess of one of the clans of the Gelfling. And as soon as it comes to life and starts walking around, you immediately think in your mind, holy crap, that's good CGI. Like, that's obviously got to be computer animated, because there's many parts of the rock that don't touch each other as it's walking. But my mind was blown when I was watching the documentary and they started talking about that creature. Most of him was puppeteering. This thing was a puppet. My jaw hit the floor when I was watching this documentary and I learned this, because it showed these people in blue suits operating this thing, making these such fluid movements like it's actually alive. And honestly, I was just dumbfounded for several minutes after they revealed that in the documentary. I was like, there's no way that wasn't CGI. But speaking of CGI, it's one thing that the show really did a good job of, was combining the old classic ways of creating entertainment, creating new creatures, of course practical effects, and perfectly merging that with the great assisting CGI to really give it that extra life and that extra push in order to bring this mystical world to life. And so, again, as a fellow artist, I had such high appreciation for the show. And the story, not just the setup and the design of everything was beautiful, but the story was fantastic. Like, when I was watching, I was thinking, finally there's a show with a good story that has a little bit of adult concepts, not necessarily like inappropriate stuff or anything like extreme violence or nudity or anything, like nothing like that, but just some themes that mostly be veered towards adult shows, you know, like dark themes, like there's killing, there's genocide, there's things like that, there's intense scenes, there's drama involved. And I was thinking, thank goodness there's about dang time that we had a show with this kind of quality of stuff, this quality of storytelling, that wasn't just for people who could stomach, you know, gore or other things like that many people would find inappropriate. It's a great in-depth story that anyone can watch. I mean, yes, the Skeksis might creep some people out a little bit. I know they creeped me out when I was little when I watched the original movie. But anyone can watch this show and enjoy the story and enjoy the creativity that went into this magical world. And one other thing before I go, I just want to talk about, again, in the documentary, how they brought back the original sketch artist, the original, I guess, concept designer for the original movie with Jim Henson. The artist was brought back, and he was able to create these new creatures, these new characters for the expansion of this story, being a prequel to the movie, and to make everything basically look the exact same. The Gelfling do look a little bit different, but I must say it's definitely an improvement from what they had in the original movie. But almost everything else just felt like it was straight out of the Dark Crystal movie. Like the Skeksis look completely unchanged, which is phenomenal. And then you have all these other creatures like the Podlings. Like you feel like you're whisked away back to Jim Henson's work, and like they didn't even miss a beat, and which is so cool. And again, I thoroughly enjoyed this show. And if you haven't seen the movie or the show, do it! Not only are they great stories and great shows in general, but it's really a triumph of human creativity. Because in my opinion, when you watch the show or the movie, you get a peek into Jim Henson's imagination. You get to peek into the world that he lived in on a daily basis in his mind. And you also get to kind of explore your own inner child imaginations with this show, which I did the entire time that I binge watched it for the past 2 days. And I finally finished it at around, I think it was like 10 p.m. last night. Not too late, but again, it really awakens the creative child in everybody. In fact, after I watched the documentary, I just sat there and thinking, I have to create something. I must make something, either drawing or painting it, clay, whatever the case may be. So I might have a video of something like that later on. But again, I just thoroughly enjoyed this show. Highly recommended it. More than any of the show that I've ever seen, I highly recommend this one. Because it just, again, of all things that I've stated, there's not much more that can be said. And so that's my review and discussion about the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance. Again, check it out on Netflix. It's so worth it. And also like and subscribe for more content like this in the future. Also got my pages right here that you can follow both on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And until then, see you guys next time.